What are some NSFW secrets about the military? When I checked into Fort Bragg in 2011, the very first thing I was told in the in-processing brief was "Welcome to Fort Bragg. We have the most male-on-male rapes and sexual assaults in the nation." The very first thing they told me. Suicides are at times covered up. You have to show your asshole to one of the oldest doctors on the planet before they let you join. I think it is a commitment thing. Calling a product military grade is not the compliment that most think it is. I don't know how much a secret it is. But if you're in the military or married to the military, the odds of you being cheated on sexually, or being the cheater, increase drastically compared to your civilian peers. That is classified. Go to Discord. The amount of waste, fraud and abuse is exponentially more than you think. I don't know if this qualifies as NSFW or is unique to the military. But when you are required to provide a urine sample, it must be witnessed by another service member. So on any given day, since it's random, you might be called to pee into a cup while another person stares at your junk. I once got called for urinalysis on a day when I had terrible diarrhea. The observer had to watch me shit just in case I was also able to pee in the cup. I was dehydrated, so it took a long time to finally pee. In addition to watching me shit liquid, this dude had to look at my dick 3 or 4 different times. It was a bad day for both of us. Edit. Thanks for the awards. Never thought my top comment would be about shitting during urinalysis. People be fucking. Like, all the time. Deployment wives, husbands are a thing. Also, people play a lot of ridiculous pranks and pull a lot of silly stunts. On my last deployment we had a phantom shitter. Just some guy. Or girl. They never got found out. Who would shit in random spaces? I had a friend who was a really dark-skinned black dude. At night, when we were only running red lights, he'd hide under the stairs to the boat locker right in front of the door to Sonar 1 and wait until someone was nearly face to face with him, and then he'd smile. All you'd see is this perfect set of red teeth all disembodied like the Cheshire Cat. Freaked me the fuck out first time he got me with it. One time we were in pretty rough seas and the ship was rocking pretty hard. Now, on the main deck there's only 3 hallways that run across the ship. The longest one was midship and was where our chow line was. People were sliding up and down that P-way with the rocking of the ship. It was pretty wild. What we sonar techs would do is get in our trunk, imagine an elevator shaft with a ladder that connects 4 levels, and time a jump so that when the ship crested a wave and if you timed it right you could jump up to the next room. My LPO made it like 3 floors once. If the ship has a swim call, meaning everyone can swim in the ocean while at sea, there'd be a couple of people with rifles on shark watch. If there is an ice cream social for no reason you're going to get bad news. Except for when they finally got Bin Laden. Edit. Forgot to add that I went to electronics school with a guy whose last name was Sample. So he was literally Seaman Sample. A friend of mine in the Special Forces told me since they are out in the field a lot, they get plenty of ticks. And while you can inspect yourself fairly good, you can't inspect everything. So they pair up and spread their cheeks. And your mate has to stare into your anus to check you for ticks in there. Not very glamorous. Apparently straight Marines do gayer shit than people who are actually gay. We had female soldiers committing their own prostitution. They had a code and everything. If a girl at the coffee shop was wearing PTs and a pink PT belt, she was down to fuck for money. 1 or more of these girls contracted a disease and next thing you know there is a base-wide epidemic, and I still remember a commissioned doctor coming into the break area screaming, "If I have to look at one more fucking dirty dick I'm quitting." Fuck it. The amount of unreported injuries to doc or to command, thus leading to lifelong issues. On the other hand, if you do go to doc about an issue, you'll be berated and told you're lying about an issue to get out of duty. PT. Was ignored and told I was lying about back, sciatic issues for months by doc. Jumped chain of command. Went to my captain. Had an MRI, x-rays of my lower back. And a month later had a microdissectomy of my L5. Damage was done. Medically ineligible to re-enlist. 7 years later. And have to get a spinal fusion due to severe disc degeneration and chronic sciatic pain and permanent nerve damage. Sometimes the guy that administers the drug test is the same one that you get the drugs from. It's literally just high school with guns. Don't let your daughters join any branch of the military. Just don't. The food boxes that come in literally say for prison and military use only. No ear protection on the range? Just shove your fingers in your ears. Also, safety squints work if you're fast enough. Swingers exist on every single base in the world. In Sigonella, they would use different boxes of detergent in the windows to show what they were into and what age range they were looking for. Patrolling the housing area became much more interesting when you see who lives in the houses and what they're into. You have a higher chance of shooting yourself than someone else. The IT is far less cutting edge than you think. Loots of chlamydia. If you join the military, you will be affected by suicide. We had 3 during training. 1 on the boat. 1 I had to tackle in my office because he was slashing his wrists. Then you get out and it keeps happening. I've lost 8 shipmates in the last 7 years after I got out. It's nuts. The amount of people who get sick and tired of being in the service who will go out and do some drug or another to get kicked out. During our Iraq, Afghanistan years, you wouldn't believe how many people would purposely piss hot or females would intentionally get pregnant to get out of going. The amount of unreported rapes, both on base and peacetime, and also raping civilians as a war crime. It's seen throughout history. Gay chicken. Not sure how prevalent it is now. But 20 years ago it was pretty common to see 2 guys kissing just to see who would blink first and pull back. Never advanced to full-on gay sex a fake. But I witnessed more than one cock getting pulled out before the other person backed down. A lot of guys will use all sorts of pills and pumps in order to juice their stats on penis inspection day. Our computers don't look or function anything like they do in the movies. It takes me 15 minutes to a half hour to log into my computer, and when I do, good luck opening Outlook or anything else. This is well known amongst all service members. The worst computers I've ever used in any job. The reason this is NSFW is because the military needs to have functioning computers, and not having that can make our work literally not safe. You don't go poo for a long time after you start basic training. Weeks. It becomes a subject of conversation with your dorm mates. Did you go number 2? Becomes a common question. For thousands of years, prostitutes would follow militaries because they were young and all male. In Norway, when enlisting, females and males can share the same room and bunk. This has led to interesting things. Dunno for other countries. I was selected 6 times in a row to be urinalysis checker. Have seen over 2,000 dicks involuntarily. I was in the Navy in the early 90s. I spent a total of a few months in the Philippines and Thailand. We were handed a box of condoms before we left the ship. Some of the things I saw. Walk into a bar and have 5 to 10 girls run up to you to try to get you to pay their bar fine, rent them for the night. Walk into a massage parlor and see 30 women behind glass with numbers on their shirts and you picked one. A bar where women shoot ping pong balls out of their vajayjays. Pull strings of razors blades out of them. Or stick a whole banana up and drop out slices. A game called Smiles, where a woman would go under a table and take turns going down on whoever was there. The first one to smile paid for a round. I had friends wake up while getting a tattoo with no recollection up to that point. Other friends sleep with ladyboys, with or without their knowledge. And others who had no idea how many women they had sex with. Me and my buddy were chased out of a bar by a screaming, knife-wielding prostitute, and nobody even looked up from their beers. Looking back, it was legitimately scary, the freedom we had for debauchery. Hangover Part 2 came close. But it was still very tame compared to back then. Swiss ex-tanker here. It cost us 2,500 Swiss francs to fire a tank shell, if I remember correctly. Once. We'd fire about a dozen a day. Per tank. In squads of 4. That's upwards of 100k per day for a training exercise. For all that fun, we'd eat rice or pasta 3x a week because we can't afford better quality food. Our oceans are loaded with garbage. Loaded. I would watch the long trail of garbage follow my ship. In the wake. As crew dumped the shit off the fantail. Every single day. Miles and miles of trash. And this was just one ship. This was just one nation. Our oceans are full of garbage that will take centuries to erode. Our waters are littered with shit that fish are eating and dying on. My buddy came back from a tour and said that masturbation was such a problem they had to make special tent for it and book time slots. Also, he was pretty sure he killed 2 guys that were probably civilians, but it was swept under the rug. The Navy switched to liquid soap because it takes longer to pick up. PTSD and unreported crimes. If you are missing kit, it is understood that you will beg, borrow or steal a replacement from another soldier before you fess up. Honor is great. Being honorable is optional. Not in the military. But have a friend who is. She told me that while on watch duty at a base in Florida. She was warned to look out for the 5 Fs. Fighting, flooding, fires, fucking, furries. Our Air Force's most critical asset, nuclear weapons, are primarily guarded by a bunch of really bored teenagers. The men who are on the down low shushing face. Maybe not NSFW but the Royal Marine Commandos. Some of the toughest soldiers in the world. Have a long history of dressing in women's rig. Basically on nights out. They dress as women. Makeup. Dresses. Tights. The full thing. God have mercy on the civilians that make fun of them for it though. Since the times that everybody has camera phones. The higher-ups have tried to put a stop to it to protect the dignity of the service, but it still happens. The girls can get about as wild as the men. Especially in certain career fields. We had a group of Air Force maintainers come into my strip club. 2 girls, 3 guys. The guys were really nice. Respectful. Tipped well. The girls bought a VIP room. And it got wild. I've stripped for girls before. It's more common than you would think. But those girls. I'm pretty sure they spent over $10,000 and were treated like queens. When my brother-in-law was in the Navy, he was assigned to an aircraft carrier. He told me that people, both men and women, will pee in the gangway, if you don't know. It's practically a hallway. Or take a dump in the trash can real quick because they didn't have enough time to get to the bathrooms. He accidentally walked up on some guy and girl doing it in the corner of one of the gangway. Another time he brought his PS4 on board. And one his roommates was playing it and he walked in on him beating off while at the strip club on GTA 5. The reason we have so many overly detailed and precise steps and regulations is because somewhere, at some time, Seaman, Private, Airman Timmy found a way to fuck things up and possibly kill himself or others. We get screwed almost every day. People die during basic training a lot more often than you think. Sexual assault isn't going anywhere because the highly publicized trainings focus exclusively on the lowest ranks. Nothing will be done about the good old boys clubs that are senior enlisted and officers. Because too much has been invested in them. And they don't want to lose anyone that high up. I had a chick FWB at school who grew up everywhere and nowhere. 20 minutes after first meeting her, she was hanging with my new roommate and I in our room. Says these clothes are uncomfortable. And before I could even turn my head she was naked on my bed. She had later confided in me that she started fucking soldiers on base at 13. And a lot of times it was consensual. And she said she was definitely not the only child being assaulted, raped. I stopped messing around with her for a long time after that and was just a good friend for her to lean on until SR year when she was still very much in therapy and we tried dating slowly. It didn't work out. But I always wish her the best. Had a former U.S. Marine sergeant tell me about his crew overseas. One of them bought a fleshlight and they all shared it. And all of them got chlamydia. These fuckers didn't clean the damn thing before they shared it. One of my commands, I'm Army, had a BN with some women who ran a prostitution ring of themselves. The one woman I knew who claimed she knew what was going on, I didn't believe her for a second. But I was busy that day and didn't call bullshit on her. I was a supply sergeant. I actually had to fucking work, said they made about $40. As a group before they got caught 4 months into their deployment. Gross. I personally saw people fucking in the Port O' Johns. Had one of our range NCOs at basic tell us about his jack after every firefight he would masturbate. It started in Panama for him. He called it his Panama Jack. I mean you sarn't. But why you telling me? Later in life I had Sid close down my building for a few days and a call was arrested when they found his BDSM shack on our maintenance facility. I got more. But these are the ones worth writing down. The others are pretty normal fucking and cheatin' at work. We nasty. Someone is gonna make a robotic text-to-speech video out of this thread. Isn't it? Assume all porta potties have been jerked off in. And Wagner does in fact love cock. They handed out heroin to those in Vietnam. My grandpa served and became an addict while there. We had a golden child in our unit. All the leadership loved him. Especially our operations superintendent. Guys used to go to the NCO club. Get drunk and crash in the airmen's rooms to avoid dues. So this married guy, his wife was in our career field and in our unit, crashed in a female airman's room. She wakes up, comes to, she was drunk too, with McDude inside her going to town. They reassigned the female victim to another team. Non-standard procedure, and signaled to everyone that accusations were false, female was wrong. He got away scot-free. Wife never found out. Victim ended up getting out of the military. MD dude eventually made chief, E9. It was fucking disgusting. Yes, I spoke up and yes, I was ignored. At an NCO leadership school in a class that loved to get drunk and party. Our rooms were assigned by class, Class A, Class B, etc. So it was just our class in the long corridor. A married girl gets drunk and she's in her own room. 4 dudes are also partying with her, are also drunk. They leave one guy as a lookout outside her room and the 3 guys rape her. She comes to, realizes what happened, talks to the school commandant about what happened. One of the guys admit it, the lookout. Because the girl's marriage was already shaky, she chose not to press charges. So 3 guys got away with raping her. It was fucking disgusting. This happened 2 days before we all graduated from a month-long leadership class. Oh yeah. One of the rapists got a leadership away, based on academic achievement. Not exactly NSFW. But military grade means. WD-40 if it's supposed to move. Duct tape if it's not supposed to move. Been in for a long while now. The most apt descriptor I've heard. Gayest bunch of straight dudes you'll ever meet. When I was in the Colombian military, I worked with a bunch of American military. They would come down and always end up at the whorehouses, most of which featured underage prostitutes. Every once in a while an American would beat up, rape, or kill a prostitute. The Department of Defense would immediately fly them out of the country so they couldn't be prosecuted. No idea if anything actually happened to them when they got back to the States. But I know that at least one of the guys that beat the shit out of a 15-year-old after she asked for her money is still active military. There's a lot of sexual abuse. A lot of blackmail. A lot of covered-up rapes. A hell of a lot of cheating. Coercion. Threats. Etc. There's also plenty of smuggling. Fraud. Theft. And so on. It always makes me laugh when people romanticize the military and troops as honorable, professional and brave. I joined as soon as I was 18 and being around such shitters damaged my perception of society in general. I met a handful of decent people in 10 years. Though, I thought it's probably the same ratio of dickheads to normals in Civilian Street. But, no. That's not true. I've met way more serious criminals in the military than I have as a civilian. But the worst thing about it all is that if it can be covered up it will be. Officers get the best treatment in this regard. But make no mistake, if the behavior crime becomes too public and it threatens the PR of the services, the only way you're covered is if you're a royal. Or close friend of one. Doesn't matter the country. Doesn't matter the ship. Every vessel at sea has a stripper pole. It may look innocuous and you may not even know it's there, but the longer you're at sea the greater its chances of being discovered. There are a lot of homoerotic and/or marital affair stories that start with a delirious, lonely and horny sailor semi-jokingly twirling on a pole for their comrades. Not me. But I knew a dude that joined up. He came home a few years later on leave and told us all about his exploits. One of which was that they drink each other's piss for a laugh. Could be bullshit. As we did try and get him to drink a girl's piss not long after he told us all, and he said I don't drink civvy piss. So, maybe? This was UK by the way. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video don't forget to drop a like. If you would like to see more content like this in the future, subscribe and turn on notifications to be notified about future videos. Now check out one of these interesting videos.